Hello, sisters. This is Real Sister coming at you. My first show I had to erase because I was cut off. I wasn't paying attention to the time. I was just trying to finish up the show and I ran out of time. So I'm going to redo it again. And so today's topic is the number 13, creation myths, Lilith, and the Indigenous Fem. Okay? So let's go in. Let me go ahead and open up my Word document here, and we'll go through this text again. Okay. Now, I want to go into Lilith and Adam and as well Eve. I'm sure all of you have read or heard of these certain myths in the Bible and in other ancient texts. Okay. Now, Lilith was the first wife of Adam. And Lilith refused to be subordinated to her husband Adam. Her independence from Adam and her rejecting Adam made Adam very angry, okay, because he wanted to control the female. And because he could not control Lilith, he labeled her as being evil and being disobedient. Now, when I come up with this word disobedient, Lilith considered herself to be equal to Adam. But since Adam is calling her, or God is calling her disobedient, that's almost calling Lilith a child, okay? Because Lilith refused to put up with his shit, okay, so to say, when it came to the affairs that they were supposed to commune together and make children, okay? Now, Lilith represents a powerfully sexual woman, who is independent-minded and makes decisions on her own based on what she feels about the man, okay, not the other way around, all right? And this has a lot to do with the female sexuality, which is indeed very powerful. You see, Lilith already had children before Adam even showed up on the scene. Okay, and the legend demonstrates how the female sexuality can be disruptive and destructive towards the male. And so Adam had to go and get another female that was so-calledly given to him, and her name was Eve. But my question is, it says here that Lilith and Adam were married. I have a problem with this marriage between Adam and Lilith because Lilith decides not to lay with Adam and ups and leaves. But it doesn't say anywhere in the text that she divorced him and he just goes out and gets him another female and lays with Eve. Now, Eve seems to be a little bit docile, but this tree of life and this Garden of Eden seem to be the meeting ground for these encounters. Let me go into this. Now, it's saying here that according to Isaiah, God was so angry at Lilith that he put a vengeance on her and cursed the land and ordered her to the wilderness. There shall be beasts of the desert, and they shall meet with the jackals, and the wild goat shall cry to his fellow. And Lilith also shall settle there. and find for herself a place to rest. I have a problem with that because she up and flew away. So she has freedom to go and lay her head in any dimension on anywhere in the planet that she wants to. Okay? And for him to be so angry at her that he directs her to go and lay with these beasts in the wilderness. And he gave her that place to rest, even though she was not with him. Okay? Now, who's to say that she even did this? You know what I'm saying? Because if she up and flew away from Adam because of his bullshit, who's to say that she was laying in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of wild animals? You know what I'm saying? And then he turns around and calls her a monster and a night hag. Here we go with this hag again. Okay? This is the man demonizing and labeling the woman as using negative connotations because she does not want to be with him and she does not want to create with him. Now, in this text, it goes into that Adam wanted her back. So Adam sent 3 angels. Okay? What are these angels' names? Let me find these angels' names. Let me see here. He sends these 3 angels to go and try to bring Lilith back. And Lilith still stands on her square, and she says no. And these 3 angels, their names are Senoi, Sensenoi, and Samangeloth. Okay? And these 3 angels, this text says, they found her in the Red Sea. And they threatened Lilith that if she did not return to Adam, 100 of her sons would die every day. In other words, she's already given birth to men. Okay? And these men were not Adam's sons. So that causes me to question the Genesis myth when they were saying that the land was void and nobody was on the land at all. There was no existence of any other human beings. But at the same time, this text is saying that Lilith had already had sons and had already created her children. And Adam was aware of these children. And he sent these 3 angels to threaten her that they would be killed if she did not lay with him. So then the question also becomes, why was Adam so desperate to lay with Lilith, even after she refused? And she told him that she was created expressively to harm newborn infants, which is incorrect. Okay? They're trying to say that she would harm children, and she was created expressly to harm children. That doesn't make any sense because she had already given birth to children. Okay? So they're lying on her here again, trying to demonize her, trying to scare other women that read this text so that they will turn against the Great Mother. Okay? Because a mother is very protective of her children. Okay? And all a mother wants to do or wish for her children is that they be okay. They got enough food to eat. They got clean clothes. They got what they need. You know, they're getting their proper rest, so forth and so on. So they use this saying that she wanted to harm newborn babies to turn the future generations of women against her, because they knew the future generation of women were going to be having babies. And eventually somebody would stumble upon this text, a female, and read it and would want them to automatically turn against Lilith, and not side with their mother, with the great spiritual mother as she is. And that clearly pops out to me as the reason why this was included, because these men are the ones that created this text and wrote this text. And we seem to be hearing one side of the story. We're not hearing Lilith's side. One moment. We're not hearing Lilith's side of the story. Okay? And I would like to read that information. If anybody has any text giving Lilith's side of the story, please do email me, because I would like to look into that. Okay? Lilith, from what I have been reading, it's the man has labeled her as a demon that kills infant babies and endangers women in childbirth, which is not true. It is not true at all. He tried to label her as a harmful spirit. Lilith is one of the goddesses of creation to bring forth life, okay? But he's trying to put the opposite spin on it because she refused to sleep with him, and labeled her as drinking the blood of men and eating flesh, and that she caused pregnant women to miscarry and disturb people's sleep and brought nightmares, which is not true. I don't believe this is true at all. So here we go again, where these men are angry and they crazy ass is trying to label the goddess as something bad in order to take her power, okay, away from her, all right, because she refused to do what he says, okay. In other words, he did not want her to think for herself, to be independent. He just wanted her to be docile and ignorant, okay. And let me go down some here. Now, even though she was the first wife of Adam, it says here that the answer lies in her insubordination to her husband Adam. And I question her even being, his wife. In her independence of Adam, her position took beyond the control of the male. And because she took control of the situation and left, that's what makes her evil, okay? And even men today take on this same type of psychology. Not all men, but you do see it in this patriarch. Because it says here that because she was disobedient, trying to label her as a child, it says that all women are indeed who are willful, are perceived as posing a constant threat to the divinely ordered state of affairs defined by men. Now, also in this myth, it's saying that when Lilith left, it was to be determined by these so-called judges, and it was taken up behind closed doors. I would like to know who these judges were, and why was it taken up behind closed doors? And I would like to know the identity of these judges. And when I do come across with that information, I will surely share it with you. And then it goes into, let me scroll down a little bit here. This has to do with the sexual dimension, which is lacking in the Genesis story. When we read the literal terms that portray Eve as some wicked femme fatale, but she's naive, and she is a sexless fool because she's docile. And I do believe that Lilith shows up again in this book of Genesis when Eve goes to the tree and speaks to the serpent, okay, because Lilith is personified as a serpent. And what do serpents and dragons do? They spiral, okay, which is definitely connected to the divine feminine. And so my interpretation is that Lilith appears again in the book of Genesis, speaking to Eve, getting Eve to eat the fruit. You know, she's trying to get Eve to question this man, even though God told you not to eat of this tree. I'm trying to get you to question it and still eat from this tree. Not that it's disobedient, because you're not a child, you're a grown woman. I'm trying to get you to think for yourself and make decisions on your own, based on not just one side of a male's interpretation, okay? And indeed, she does offer Eve the fruit, and Eve eats the fruit. So it seems like this God is trying to subdue and control the women in both instances. He couldn't get his hands on Lilith. He got his hands on Eve, but she ate the forbidden fruit. So was the forbidden fruit indeed Lilith, that serpent? I believe it was, from my studies and the way I'm trying to look at it from a different type of view. Now, and I went into the way the man assumes power or jurisdiction over the female, but Lilith wasn't having it. Okay? Now, I'm going to read this testament of Reuben, and in this testament he talks about the 12 patriarchs and the 12 sons of Jacob, but there were actually 13 tribes. And in the testament of Reuben, he says that women are evil, and he calls them children. He says, women are evil, my children, because they have no power or strength to stand up against a man. And they use the wiles, and they ensnare him by their charms. And man, whom woman cannot subdue by strength, she subdues by guile. Okay, now it's saying here that the woman cannot stand up against the man because she doesn't have strength to. He's speaking of physical strength, but the woman is indeed stronger than the man because the woman is the one that gives birth to the man. Now, it takes a lot of strength to give birth to a child. I know me personally, with my first child, I was in labor for 18 hours. Okay? A man's heart cannot take that excruciating pain. His heart would not be able to sustain it. Okay? His heart is not strong enough and was not designed to sustain childbirth. But a woman's heart is, because a woman is stronger than a man in different ways. So I read this to you as an example to show you these men's arrogance and their ignorant information and their assumptions that they have regarding women. Okay, that's why I read it to you. Now, looking at this myth, let me check my time. I don't want to run out of time. Looking at this myth, it's very interesting because you can relate it to today. You may have one sister that says to a brother, or she may pick up an instinct or a vibration to leave this brother alone because he's too controlling. She may pick up a violent aspect in him, and she may tell that brother no. And just because she's saying no to that brother, you know, she could be saving her life one moment. She could be saving her life, you know. So what does the brother do? He goes and finds him another female, maybe a little bit docile, that's going to put up, that he feels is going to put up with his shit. Okay? She may be hungry and desperate and hard up for some dick and ignore her intuition that is telling her to leave that man alone. And she jump into bed with him and have sex. Later on down the road, she sees that her instinct was right. And then she kicks herself for not listening to it. And then she's got to figure out a way to get away from this crazy motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it happens all the time. I'm just giving you an example because that's what I think that this text is doing. Giving us an example of these men. At the same time, we have to interpret and try to analyze Lilith's side of the story because none of the texts that I have read are saying anything to the effect of anything that Lilith said, besides the fact that she said she was not created, you know, she was created to harm children. I don't think she said that because the angels told her that if she did not go back to Adam, that her children would die. And then the text goes in to say that Lilith said that she was created to harm children. Well, what the angel said and what Lilith said don't coincide with each other. One don't have anything to do with the other. You know what I'm saying? You're making a threat that if she don't go back to Adam, then her children go die. And then she says that she was created to harm children. That don't make no sense. That's why I question it. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to read in between the lines here and give you a different look at it so that when you go back and read it, you can pick up on what I'm picking up on, okay? Now, I also wanted to read something else to you regarding the 12 tribes. 1 second. Now, let me see here. It says here the 12 tribes of Israel that were really 13 tribes. It says here the Bible also appears to bear the battle of the connected with changeover from the 13th month to the 12th month year. In the book of Moses, the 12 is used primarily in connection with the 12 children of Jacob and the 12 tribes of Israel, descended from them. Surprisingly, if we look more closely at the text, we find that there are rarely 12 tribes. So why is it so important to adhere to the number 12? It says here the 12 sons of Jacob did not each found a tribe. Only 11 sons did, as well as Joseph's 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, making a total of 13 tribes. So the genealogies of the Edomite tribes set up a parallel of the tribes of Israel, also contain 13 tribes. Okay? Moses similarly counts 13 tribes, but the 13th is made, how do you say that? Ephemeral. the tribe of Levi is exempted from the census. In the historically later book of Deuteronomy, only 11 sons are blessed. Okay? So it's a fiction. The 12 tribes are a fiction, but the 12 is always maintained. So it's saying that the 12 tribes are actually fraudulent. It's actually 13 tribes, you see. But we deal with 12 tribes. No, we deal with 12 constellations in the astrology wheel, but it's actually 13. If you watch my previous show, I go into the 13th constellation. They call it Ophiuchus. And if you read that, it's talking about the Great Mother is to return, okay? And the Great Mother, here we go again with the snake and the dragon, okay? It keeps going back to the snake and the dragon. So, now, in this myth of the snake, they say that this dragon, this snake, this serpent, which indeed connects to Lilith, which indeed connects with this Garden of Eden, which indeed connects to the female, which indeed connects to this constellation, Ophiuchus, which indeed connects to the 13 months in a year instead of the fraudulent 12 months in a year. It all connects. Also, the number 13 deals with the goddess Freya. And it also deals with, remember those movies that came out with Freddy Krueger, Friday the 13th? You need to go back and watch that movie because maybe you can find some connections in that as well. They're trying to get you to fear the number 13 and fear these particular goddesses that are aligned with this numerology. Okay? Now, going back to the dragon spirals, which is a feminine aspect, because we are indeed connected to the universe, because that spiral, that DNA, it'll show that we connect to our mother, and then our grandmother, great-grandmother, so on and so forth, okay? And the universe travels in a spiral. It doesn't travel just in a constant circle over and over and over again. So it all lines up. Now, going back to this dragon, let me check my time. Okay, going back to this dragon, they say that this dragon will be passing by our earth. And it passes by our earth about every 3,006 years. And in its tail, it has a lot of space debris and meteorites and space dust and so on and so forth. And it's going to cause these changes to occur. For example, Turkey, I just read the news, had a major earthquake, and, you know, we just had 2 earthquakes the other day. What was that, a day and a half ago, 2 days ago? We went through 2 earthquakes, and then my husband and I was in bed laying down, sleep late at night, and the bed started shaking in the late night hours. So we've been going through series of earthquakes, and now it's saying that Turkey has just experienced an earthquake. So my interpretation that it has maybe a lot to do with these pole shifts. These poles are supposed to be shifting, and they say that this shift is supposed to last for about an hour when it does take place. And they're saying that you'll know when this 3 days of darkness occurs. That ain't nothing but the feminine energy. It's nothing to be afraid of. And the darkness has to do with the feminine energy as well. Because when we are in our mother's womb, it's dark. We get our nutrition in our mother's womb. We grow in our mother's womb for 9 months of darkness. And we come out perfectly fine, breathing with a heartbeat. We come out absolutely beautiful. So the darkness is nothing to be afraid of. But it's going to indeed seriously affect this planet. And this is part of the divine correction that I was speaking of. And this is going to be a natural occurrence. So, I think that we should indeed try to get ready for it. I don't believe there is nowhere to run. I don't believe there's nowhere to hide. And I encourage you to start paying more attention to these creation myths and these prophecies, sisters. And when you read them, don't just whim them over your head, because when I read them, I don't whim them over my head. I look for arrogance. I look for male chauvinism. I look for, is it two sides of the story or is it one side of the story? And words that pop out to me: snake, dragon, Garden of Eden, women, demonizing the woman, calling her everything in the book because she disagrees. Children, these are red flags to me, and they pop out. And I put these things together, and I try to look at it from the feminine point of view, because the feminine point of view is there, but it's not to say that it's her side of the story. You see what I'm saying? It's one-sided, and that's how I connect the dots. That's how I do it. But getting back into this myth, you have to be careful of what you're reading and how you're reading it. And you have to pay attention to these things and take a deeper look and connect the dots and put it together for yourself so that you have your own interpretation and that you're able to answer your own questions, okay? So, all I could say is, we need to be getting ourselves ready. Like I said, if you can, wash that perm out of your hair. Start cleansing your body. Start getting your life in order. Start correcting yourself. Break bad habits. Eat healthier. Exercise. Connect with the earth. Now is a very important time for you to be connecting to the earth, connecting to the universe. Meditate. Very important. Connect with the Mother Goddess and see what she has to say. I connect with her every day. There's a lot of things that you can do to get in tune and to get connected. Because unforeseen forces are at work. And things are not what they seem to be or what you think they are, just looking through the naked eye. It's a lot more other things going on that you cannot see. You understand what I'm saying? And these texts that these men have written are clearly arrogant and support his wanting to have dominion and authority over the woman. And he has already claimed the woman as being a child. So I'm not saying all men are like this, but this is what the text is saying. Okay? So, the divine correction is coming. And because of the abuses and the madness that's going on today, okay? And I'm not going to go into that madness that's going on today. I'm sure you have a good idea of what I'm speaking of. People wanting to change their gender because they know that the female is divine. And so first, you want to rule over the female. Now, you want to create yourself to be like the female, even though you wanted to rule over her. And I hope y'all can catch what I'm saying, because I'm not going to go into depth with it. So there seems to be a confusion there. You want to rule the planet. You want to demonize the female. But yet and still, now all of a sudden, you got campaigns out to be something other than what you're not. And now you want to be like the female. I don't think you know what the hell you want to do. But if you're trying to be something that you're not, and if you're trying to take the place of a female, that would be literally impossible because you can't give birth to a child. Your heart would not be able to sustain it. You don't have a womb. Well, you may have a womb, but you don't have a womb that's designed to carry a child. So it's only so far that you can go with this game or whatever it is, this campaign that you're playing of trying to be a female, and you're not a female. It's only so far that you can go. You know what I'm saying? Because without the female, let's say all the indigenous females, the black female, say we were to get up and just leave the planet, go somewhere else, this civilization would not last long. I'd give it 100 years. Okay? Man cannot create man. Okay? You wouldn't survive. Okay? You can go get fake titties, wear cowrie shell titty cup bras. You know, you can do all that foolishness. But you wouldn't be able to give birth to children. So you wouldn't survive long on this planet. But you try to imitate the female. But it's only so far you can go with that. You see? So who is really in control? You know what I'm saying? Who is really in control? You try to physically control her, but there are going to be other aspects that are going to bring changes to this planet, because she's going to be moving into the fifth dimension. And who wants to go into the fifth dimension as something or somebody that you are not? Who wants to go into the fifth dimension being something that you're not? That just don't jive too good with me. You know, that just don't sound right to me. You know, it's going to be a lot of folk that ain't going to make it. You know, it's going to be folk that do make it. But whatever the case may be, it's going to be spectacular. And we're going to have to deal with it, sisters. And, you know, you also, too, have to look at these men in the aspect of, if you don't side with them, if you don't roll with them, if you don't side with them, but you have your own opinion and you speak your mind, then they got a problem with you. Okay? but they want to side with another female that is siding with them or working with them or whatever you want to call it, but then go diss the other female. You know, it goes back to this same creation myth. It goes back to this same creation myth. And these games are still being played today. They're still being played today, sisters. They still are. Okay? Lilith dissed Adam, so he had to go get him another female that would side with him and lay with him and have children. Okay? And even though she went and spoke with Lilith at the tree and ate of the apple, God still cursed her. So if you think about it, he cursed both women. Even though Lilith flew away, he cursed both women. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, sisters, you have to be careful of these men that you're dealing with. You know, because they get emotional too, and they may want to curse you, and you may feel that you ain't did nothing wrong. So you really have to be careful. These men that you deal with, you know, you really do, because he may make you think, oh, it's cool, I'm on your side, blah, 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 blah. But then another female, he dissing her. Okay? But those two females never got a chance to talk to each other to find out what's really going on and what kind of game this man is playing. But Lilith, I believe, was the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and she did get a chance to talk to Eve. Okay? Now, whether God knew that that was Lilith or not, I don't know. But whatever the case may be, she did get a chance to talk to Eve, to persuade Eve to think for herself. And I think that was Lilith's purpose. That's what I'm trying to say. So, this man is very peculiar, sisters. So we need to take a deeper look and break down these texts. And I'll go into it. I may do a part 2 of this. We'll take a deeper look and try to break it down even more. And look at this male and try to analyze more of these myths and the feminine side of the story. Okay? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get off this mic, and I enjoyed speaking to you all. And I'll bring you further information as I gather it. So until then, you all have a wonderful weekend. Peace out.